Kurt Lewin worked on a few leadership experiments together with Ronald Lippitt and Ralph White in the 1930s. The experiments involved 10-year-old children being studied in different settings. The children were divided into different groups that were led with different philosophies of leadership. The Lewin styles are still some of the most frequently mentioned leadership styles, but there are good reasons to avoid using this leadership framework. This video summarizes each of the 3 styles in 1 minute each, and ends with conclusions on why you should avoid using this leadership framework. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe to our channel. It would help us tremendously. The Lewin philosophies of leadership, or leadership styles, are authoritarian, also known as autocratic, followed by democratic, and laissez-faire. These were behavioral leadership styles, meaning that a leader behaves according to one of these 3. This implies that a leader doesn't really switch between styles depending on external circumstances. According to more modern leadership theories, the situation and circumstances should define what style a leader should use, and the Lewin model is often represented in that way. Back in Lewin's days, this was not yet the case, making it a poor fit for modern situations. Although Lewin's experiments included some leaders using different behaviors, suggesting that a leader can adapt, this was not done depending on the situation, but rather for the sake of the experiment. Let's provide an overview of each style. Autocratic leadership is when the leader holds literally all the decision power. Autocratic leadership has many disadvantages and is considered one of the least popular leadership styles, especially due to low levels of empowerment and trust, combined with elements of fear and punishment. The autocratic leader doesn't have to be a bad and evil person, even if it sounds like it. In many cases, it is a person who is merely assertive, doesn't take no for an answer, and expects total and complete obedience, without being a monster. Autocratic leadership is generally disliked, and if you ask me, it doesn't have a place in modern leadership. People say it can be useful in times of crisis when difficult decisions must be taken fast. That would mean using it in special situations only, which makes it commanding or directive leadership, a contingency approach, rather than autocratic leadership, which is a behavior. Watch our video on commanding leadership, which is way more useful than autocratic leadership. There's a link in the top, as well as in the video description. The democratic leadership style, also known as participative leadership, builds on gathering input from the team members, and pushing for participation in decision-making, facilitated and stimulated by the democratic leader. All team members should voice their opinions and be part of making the decisions, but in the end, the democratic leader is the one with the final say. The democratic leadership style is popular among employees and leads to high engagement and productivity. Strong focus on equality, trust, and empowerment are a few reasons why this style is popular among employees. The democratic leadership style also has weaknesses. The high level of participation in decision-making can lead to slow reaction speed and sometimes too much compromising and search for consensus. When quick decisions are crucial, the democratic leadership style can even become a problem. Democratic leadership is also part of another leadership framework, namely the 6 Leadership Styles by Daniel Goleman. Democratic leadership is a great style, but you shouldn't use it as behavior, which would mean always being a democratic leader. Try to use it when it makes sense, depending on the situation at hand. Check out our video on democratic leadership. There's a link at the top of the screen and in the video description. Before we get to the last style of the Lewin leadership model, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. That way you won't miss any of our future videos. The third leadership style, laissez-faire, is sometimes referred to as delegative or free-rein leadership. Laissez-faire is a hands-off approach where the leader stands back and lets the team do the work on their own. Minimal guidance is provided by the leader, and the team members are expected to make decisions themselves. Laissez-faire leadership can be intentional when the leader backs off and lets the team loose. It can also be unintentional, which I think is even worse, virtually resulting in the absence of leadership. I mean, what is the point of having a leader if that person doesn't lead? Laissez-faire can work well in a team where the high level of empowerment meets the right talent. In fact, a really talented team can do well under a laissez-faire regime. The question is, wouldn't a good team like that do even better with an active leader? A laissez-faire leader can be perceived as uncaring, uninterested, and absent, which can confuse the team members regarding direction and clarity on roles. An uninterested leader often results in lower accountability amongst the team members, which in turn leads to decreased productivity. Let's look at why you shouldn't use the Lewin framework and what you should use instead. The Lewin styles are behavioral, and not intended for the contingency approach that's required today. As mentioned, the autocratic leadership style should be avoided since it leads to low engagement and often to bullying and even toxic climates. Laissez-faire is virtually the absence of leadership, and Lewin's tests showed that it resulted in low productivity. So, 2 of the 3 styles are pretty much useless. Why use a framework with only one usable leadership style? The democratic leadership style is good, but it isn't always appropriate, so you need good alternatives to balance with. If you desire to implement a leadership styles framework, and I genuinely encourage you to, consider using more modern approaches instead, such as the 6 leadership styles based on emotional intelligence. There's a link to our video on that framework at the top of the screen. I've personally used that framework with the democratic, visionary, commanding, coaching, affiliative and pace-setting style with great success. Have a look, it might work for you as well. Another alternative is the full-range leadership model with the 3 styles of transformational, transactional, and laissez-faire. Check the link at the top of the screen for information on that framework. Kurt Lewin did plenty of good things in leadership studies, but I really think it is time we all start using more modern leadership styles. The world has changed rapidly since the 1930s, and so has leadership. Check out our in-depth videos on leadership styles, they're available at our YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe, so you don't miss out on future content.